please welcome now the chairman of the County Board of Legislators, Ken Jenkins. Ken, good morning.
Good morning, Bob, and certainly good morning, Westchester.
Wow, good morning it is. How are you and your family faring in all of this, sir?
In Yonkers, our family this time was spared the power outage and walking through the neighborhood and going through many parts of my district. Many people do have power, but there's a lot of people that do not. A lot of trees down, a lot of power lines and that kind of, and cable lines and that kind of thing that have been down. Everybody's been helping everyone. Tim Corin has been right as far as fantastic work between all the first responders, everyone working together, just trying to get this done. And the city of Yonkers, certainly Mayor Spano, calling for, we have a regular curfew in Yonkers, but because of the power outage, it was even more important for people not to be on the street last night. So we're moving Halloween this Saturday for most of the people in Yonkers. I know you mentioned Mount Vernon. The mayor just happened to be out of town, so the city council president, Roberto Puzo, is trying to coordinate that activity with many folks, the city council members, county legislators, Williams, and certainly Spreckman that have some effort over there as well. The Con Ed response and New York State Electric and Gas, I mean, it is a major catastrophe. And for Westchester, when we look around for the whole county and we see the damage up in the northern part of Westchester, to quote Governor Cuomo, it seemed that anywhere there was a tree, it fell on a power line.
Yeah, sure did.
And we recall, Bob, and I know you recall, and your listeners will recall, all of the concerns and issues when Con Ed wanted to clear cut and take down trees and the pushback, and certainly Governor Malloy in Connecticut said the same thing. It's a very controversial issue dealing with power lines and trees. But
if you could you say more about that? This is the first time this has come up, that Con Ed had been pushing for trees to be cut around power lines and the pushback. Say more about that. We're talking with the chair of the County Board of Legislators, Ken Jenkins, because in Mamaroneck this has come up where people 30 years ago were offered eminent domain to get their houses out of a floodplain. They said no, and then 30 years later their houses became boats. Tell us about this more.
Well, I mean, the thing again is that there's a delicate balance between the beauty and natural beauty of Westchester with all the trees and majestic trees that we have. We have 100 and 200-year-old trees that are in communities, but when you have hurricane force winds, they're projectiles and they're dangerous. And obviously that was unfortunate up in North Salem where the tree fell on a house, and the two children, next door neighbors, died in that particular incident, and the other tree incidents. I mean, we have the majority of the damage in Westchester County was caused not by rain, but by the wind and the trees. It's very, very controversial, and everyone understands the need for balance. People say, let's, bury the wires. Everyone goes, well, we're going to pay for that. People say, let's clear cut. That's not beautiful. It doesn't, keep the natural beauty next to the Springbrook Parkway, where there was state legislation that was passed to prevent Con Ed from doing that and to work with the communities, because there's all these impacts. You take away a tree, now you take away, oxygen and the ability for stormwater to be, taken up. I mean, there's a big balance, and it's a problem, but, it's something that we have to deal with. And as we move forward through this and get through the recovery, then we'll be able to deal with that. I mean, I heard the news report that you all were just doing, saying that the major roads are open, and they are.
Yes.
But all those side roads and some of the northern roads, when we talk about the state roads up in the northern part of the county, there's still trees across them. The local municipalities don't necessarily have the resources to deal with them, and they won't touch them because there's power lines around them. New York State Electric and Gas, it sounded like on their conference call, they're still working on a plan. Con Ed has significant numbers of people out in New York City, and it's a challenge. They say there's not any reduction in service or reduction in our staffing in Westchester County, but when there's 200,000 customers, that's not people, that's just the customer number out in Westchester County, that you might not see someone, and that's an issue when you have your power out. So
absolutely,
we have to deal with that. The people that have had opportunities to call in, the county which did not have a state of emergency as far as closing of its offices and just essential personnel only to come into the offices, has availability. We want to caution people at this point in time to to watch out for those unscrupulous contractors that are out there. Make sure they're licensed.
That's a huge thing. I just want to remind folks, 741, that voice you hear is that of the chairman of the County Board of Legislators, Ken Jenkins, here on 1460 WVOX. We are on the air, and we are sharing and collecting information about the aftermath. A question that I did have, and please, I want you to continue, but a question that I had, a caller called in earlier, and something we never considered. Would you now, in the aftermath of this, as the head of our legislative body, consider mandating gas stations or to have an emergency generator? Because what we are seeing is getting gasoline the problem's growing slowly, but it is growing, the demand and lines at gas stations, sir.
Certainly we'll take a look at many of the different things, that we just passed on Monday, the process of going out and identifying generators, which people say, well, didn't we have a list of that before? And we did not. So Pete Harcum, led that effort. And working with the administration, we were able to come up with a plan to at least identify that, and then we'll go through the process of actually funding that. All right, to say, hey, we need these generators in these strategic places so that we don't have hospitals without power, which we have in the northern part, northern Westchester, Mount Kisco. They lost power, had to transport patients. Their generators went down. We had Mamaroneck looking for a generator. We had all these other municipalities looking for generators. And that's really where county government and regional government comes in, and the federal government as well, and our state government. It is to make sure that those resources are coordinated, because the local municipalities just don't have enough people to do that. When we all work together, we pull together, we can get things done. And that's what's happening right now as far as prioritizing.
Well, that is appreciated. I had occasion yesterday, is what I wanted to share with you, to have to go to a couple of other states. And we never want to see what's going on in New Jersey right now. It is becoming tragic. And I only use this to juxtapose what could have happened here. There are so few gas stations open that there are not miles long lines for the very few that have gas there. And I wouldn't want to see that happen here in Westchester, for that matter, anywhere.
Well, again, and it's a question of balance, again, to do different things. So, for example, as we consider legislation to make sure, and pass legislation to make sure there wasn't price gouging between credit cards and non-credit card use or debit card use, which was forwarded by Mike Capwood. We got to keep doing those kind of things and reinvestigating and reviewing the process and determining what things worked and what things did not work. What did work was highlighting for everyone the need to stay off the roads, etc. Now we got to work through the process of saying, well, we told everyone to stay home, so we should make sure that they're not being penalized for staying home and being protected of their families and their property.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. The chairman of the County Board of Legislators, Ken Jenkins. If you have any other announcements, weather-related or recovery-related, please feel free to call us at the radio station. Thank you very much, Ken Jenkins.
Anytime.